What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, which means Boxing Ego's Monday Mail Day, MMD. I'm still out in New York, and this is my segment where I answer questions from you. Had a great fight week. I enjoyed covering the fight. They canceled the media day, and it was cold, but we made it through, and we had a good time. And it's on to the next situation. Now, without further ado, I put a thumb up next to the questions I'll be answering. If I didn't get to you this week, I put this video up a little bit sooner than normal, so you guys got to be on the lookout. Sign up for notifications, because I noticed some of the people that normally leave questions, they weren't there this week. So I think it's because it got buried and you guys maybe didn't see it with all the other fight week coverage. So you guys got to get on that notification squad. But I put a thumb up next to the questions I'll answer, and I'll do my best to answer them. Let's go. First question is from Gerardo Hernandez. What do you think of Top Rank pushing Michael CONLAN hard for his debut? And it seems by the interviews from Arum that they are going to put a lot of energy on his career. He fought in New York, where there's a lot of Irish because his second hometown, and he was the main event. Meanwhile, Shakur Stevenson's debut is going to be on the undercard and not fighting in his hometown. Do you think there is favoritism, and does this show Stevenson should have signed with another promoter? That's an interesting point that you brought up, but I think honestly, this is not just Top Rank, but I don't think there's a lot of promoters who it doesn't seem like they put their best foot forward or maximum energy into their black talent. That's just what I've seen. You know, you have a fighter like Terrence Crawford, and he almost has to fight dog fights and fight whoever, tough fights, and until he like demands the respect of the boxing public. Yet he doesn't, I don't feel he gets pushed in the same way, but I don't know, maybe he feels they're taking care of him great or whatever. So it's too early in Shakur Stevenson's career. He hasn't had his pro fight, but that's a good point that you brought up. Michael CONLAN did get the royal treatment, and I think, honestly, I think it's because the way a lot of these promoters think and the old school mentality is that there's money with a lot of these foreigners. Like, they have countries behind them, and people will come out and maybe they feel more comfortable marketing them. Like when Top Rank had Rigondeaux, for example. They're talking about, oh, Bob Arum was like, HBO, they want to throw up every time I mention Rigondeaux, right? That's your problem. You're managing him. Like, no one wants to hear that. And there's certain things you could do. Put Rigondeaux in a big cracking card in Miami during a huge parade week or something. You know what I mean? There's certain things you can do. You mean to tell me Cubans and Cubanos aren't going to come out for Rigondeaux in Miami? You know what I mean? So it's like they don't even want to attempt to cater their business because they don't think there's that much money in certain fighters like Rigondeaux. Hopefully Shakur Stevenson does get the good treatment. He's with Ward and also Jay Prince, so they should hopefully make sure his career is steered in the right direction. But Michael CONLAN, his debut was live. I mean, I was out here in New York, St. Patrick's Day weekend. It was lit. There's a lot of people, and I think it's because they just feel like there's a country behind him, and he already has a market. You know what I mean? Friends with Conor McGregor, and McGregor's walking him out, so they're like, oh, this is an easy sale. But it seems like the promoters would want to not only, like, obviously you want to do what impacts your business, but at the same time, you want to promote your skilled guys, because those are the guys that are going to be around. Like, you know what I mean? HBO does their best job to build up certain guys and say, hey, this guy is the next person. Put all this energy in. And then the worst part about it is at the end of the day, Lampley, Kellerman, all these dudes, HBO, all these people that built him up, Harold Letterman, they can't get in that ring and fight for him. So when that person looks disappointing or comes up short in their performance, then you almost look dumb because you didn't tell the truth from the beginning, and you made it sound like this person was unbeatable, and then they get beat. So that's just my thoughts on the situation. Next question is Top Tech Dog. Assuming Triple G beats Jacobs tonight, which he technically did, and he faces Billy Joe Saunders in June, Do you think that having only 2 months is enough time to recover from Billy Joe Saunders fight and get in training camp for a huge fight, the Canelo showdown, assuming all goes well in terms of negotiations? That's a good question, but I mean, boxing is cruel. You know what I mean? Oh well, you sometimes have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And I mean, I think what's worse for boxers is them having a Nicholas Walters, Yuriorkis Gamboa, Mikey Garcia at a point in time, Chavez Jr., Andre Ward, inactivity. I think that hurts them far more than having to get ready quicker. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a mega fight, but if you just came off the Jacobs fight, then you fight Billy Joe Saunders in the summer, you should at least be fresh. And it's not like there's only so much weight you would be able to gain from June to September or whatever, especially if you know you have a fight coming. So it actually might even help the fighter by having such a quick turnaround time. But I guess it depends on the fighter. I really don't think it's as big of a problem. I think, like I said, inactivity and ring rust and being away from the ring would be more detrimental to the fighter. Besides that, Golovkin's been claiming he wants the fight with Canelo for so long. He's the A side, Canelo's the A side. So at this point, you can't pass up opportunities. You know what I mean? You already, after watching the Jacobs fight, a lot of people thought you lost that fight. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to take it, even if you have to get ready in 2.5 months, 3 months. You know what I mean? If the opportunity is right and both teams agree upon a set split, the percentage or the 15 mil flat rate or whatever, then you have to take those opportunities. So I don't think it would stagnate the fight or whatnot. I think Triple G, if that's what happens, then don't fight Billy Joe Saunders if you need all that time to rest. You know what I mean? The big fish you want is Canelo for the money. You know what I mean? Or decide about Billy Joe Saunders. Say unifying the division is more important. You know what I mean? What is more important to you? Next question is Brian Olia. Ego, I noticed Triple G not so happy with the outcome of the fight and his performance, of course. He's content with the W. What do you think his mentality is at this point, especially after not being able to KO Jacobs? Do you think Jacobs gave him a welcoming to the top floor of boxing? Yeah, Jacobs did his damn thing. He covered the fight live, and I tried telling people, and maybe these fighters start feeling the same thing, but if you let people brainwash you, and if you're a puppet to this game, it does you no favors. What I mean by that is, if you just let all of the bad negativity that these boxing writers, these fake ass like YouTube channels or media writers or whoever, they try to put this in your mind, certain things, and if you don't look and see with your own two eyes and listen with your own two ears and really see what's going on from your thoughts and learn how to break these fights down and break these fighters down, strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that, then you'll forever be living in someone's shadow. That's why all these fights like Jacobs and Triple G, to people it's like it's an upset. It's not an upset even if Jacobs won. To me, I mean, it'd be an upset based on how HBO was receiving Golovkin, but it really wouldn't be an upset if you know Danny Jacobs' struggle and his story. You know what I mean? He's a big dude. He has power. He knocked out Peter Quillen. He knocked out cancer and defeated that, right? He's a pretty tough and strong dude all around, right? He has the work ethic. He said he's more mature after the Dmitry Pirog loss. So it's really not that, it's not that as serious, you know what I mean? And I think Triple G probably underestimated it. You're like, I'm better than Dmitry Pirog, and Pirog knocked him out. I've knocked out 23 people in a row, you know what I'm saying? So simple math, you'd be probably thinking that Jacobs is going to go easy, but you can't put a measure on somebody's heart, you know what I mean? And Jacobs showed, I was there live, he showed a tremendous heart. He was like, yeah, he was like hitting Golovkin with some shit, with some heat, and then being like, yeah, come on, like bring it. You the boogeyman, you the big bad wolf. And to me, that's demoralizing based on Golovkin. You're Mr. Mexican style and knockout artist, and Abel Sanchez is saying nobody from 154 to 168 can go 12 rounds with you. And he's egging you on, like, bop, bop, yeah, come on. Or you hit him with a good shot and he's still saying, come on. You know what I mean? Psychological. So I think Triple G's happy he's still undefeated, but he knows it wasn't his best performance, and he probably underestimated Jacobs and has a newfound respect. I mean, this is me speaking, of course, on behalf of Triple G. I don't know what he feels, but I would assume that he feels that probably just has a newfound respect for Jacobs. Like, okay, he's more game. He's game as fuck. I didn't think he was going to be like that. But that's what I'm saying. You got to do your research and know who you're dealing with. Just like the Sor Rungvisai. I didn't know much about him, but I did my research and I told people, I'm like, this is a difficult fight for Chocolatito. Even though I had Roman winning, it wasn't by no wide margin, and Roman didn't look particularly great to me. He had some impressive combinations, which he always has. His defense still looks suspect. His face was leaking. He seemed like kind of out of the fight, like mentally, because he was bleeding. He didn't look like he was dealing with that too well. He was like letting it bother him. And it was a scrappy, dog, cagey fight. You know what I mean? So you got to do your research. Next question, Miguel Areola. Hey, Ego, I'm a big fan of the truth, so I'm a big fan of you. Thank you. How much effect do you think the headbutts in the Chocolatito fight have on the outcome, since the headbutts caused, one, the knockdown in which Chocolatito was obviously hurt and got Thai homie 10-8 round, 2, the cut on the eye and one of his head I think, 3, the frustration Chocolatito must have been feeling. In my opinion, Sor Rungvisai should have been disqualified or at least had another point taken away. I disagree with the disqualification. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing with the accidental headbutt. Some styles, some southpaw versus orthodox, some different people, like the way they fight, it's inevitable. You know what I mean? Tim Bradley's kind of one of those people where some points earlier in his career, he would headbutt people just because he was like, you know what I'm saying? He's aggressive. Things like that happen. Robert Guerrero, a southpaw, going up with Keith Thurman. That's what happened with Keith Thurman's face. And he got that nasty knot. So Guerrero should have been disqualified. You know what I mean? It's an accident. Orlando Salido broke Mikey Garcia's nose with the headbutt. He's rugged. He's rough. That's how he fights. You know what I mean? I don't know. Some fighters, I don't know if it's intentional, but some fighters, I think, like, they're like, yeah, I'm coming in with my head, and if your face is there, oh well. You know what I mean? So they're not, it's not like they're intentionally doing it, but they don't mind. They're just trying to get to you. Like Orlando Salido seems like that to me. Like he's like, I'm coming in whether you like it or not. If your head's in the wrong position, oh well. You know what I mean? Tim Bradley, Diego Chavez, you can't just disqualify them for accidents. Accidents happen. So, I mean, Golovkin fought David Lemieux, and he took a knee, and Golovkin punched him in extra time while he was clearly down. And to me, there was clearly a chance for Golovkin to pull back and not hit him with that last shot. And Golovkin, a known puncher, he just got a free swing. He didn't get disqualified. You know what I mean? And David Lemieux started getting counted for the knockdown. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think he should have been disqualified. And I mean, the first part of your question is really, I do think, obviously, the cuts and the bleeding affected Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. But, I mean, I'm not much of a what-if person. That's what happened. That's the circumstance Roman Chocolatito had to deal with. It's boxing, and it is what it is. Floyd Mayweather had a nasty cut, too. Fortunately for him, he has Rafael Garcia as a cut man. And he was able to neutralize it very good. But in the Maidana fight, he had a bad cut. Blood was getting in his eye. And he was in there with an aggressive Maidana who was coming off the Broner win. So he had an all-time high in terms of his confidence. Floyd had to deal with it. Pacquiao had to deal with it when he fought Eric Morales the first time. And Morales was, you know what I mean, in his prime or whatever. And he was trying to beat Pacquiao, who beat Barrera and shit. So he wasn't trying to, you know what I mean? People see you cut or hurt or whatever, injured, and they take advantage of it. You know what I mean? David Haye just recently tore his Achilles or whatever happened versus Tony Bellew. I mean, this is boxing. It's a fight game. So it's an accident. It happened. And that's what Roman had to deal with. You know, and to be honest, David Haye, he was bothered by his injury. I'm not going to say he wasn't bothered by it, but he seemed less focused on it. He seemed like he basically, he focused on it when it was such an excruciating pain, or he couldn't put weight on it or couldn't move, where he had no choice but to acknowledge it. But he was still trying to land one on Tony Bellew. So that's Roman Chocolatito's fault. You have to know, you have to do drills and know how to respond as a champion in those clutch, pivotal moments where you may be impaired temporarily, you may be hurt. I mean, this is boxing. I could think of a million examples. Literally, I watched that much boxing. Marcos Maidana versus Josecito Lopez. They fought, and Josecito looked like he was about to stop Maidana because Maidana said he got hit below the belt or on his leg or something, and it paralyzed his leg and like numbed it, and he couldn't feel it. He couldn't feel his leg. It just went numb. So he almost got stopped, and then he turned things around and ended up stopping Josecito Lopez. So, I mean, it's a bad sport. It's a brutal sport. You have to work through injury, and some guys do better at it. Roman Chocolatito seemed extremely bothered with the blood. Obviously, that's something major. You know what I mean? The cuts are major, but maybe that's how you have to. It's about adjustments. You know what I mean? Maybe Roman Chocolatito. I don't know, because I wasn't in there with the Sor Rungvisai. But there's certain things. Maybe you have to take a step back when he's coming, and then, you know what I mean, pick your shot so your heads don't collide, or, you know what I mean, use some more upper body movement. Whatever you feel, you have to make those adjustments if you know how reckless this person is. I mean, Floyd did it with Maidana. It's a perfect example. He had a cut, and he fought off the ropes. He has a tight defense, so it didn't turn out to be an ongoing problem. So yeah, I do think the headbutts and the bleeding affected Roman, but I mean, Roman's not special. Chocolatito's not special where he's exempt from, like, he can call a timeout. I mean, it's boxing. You have to keep going with or without that. If someone's doing something dirty and the referee is not stopping or warning them, you have to continue fighting. Next question, Marv Beck. Ego, great work. Keep it up. New media, no bias. Thank you. I must say I was wrong. I picked Jacob to beat Triple G, unanimous decision. It went the other way. But should Jacobs be given a rematch with Triple G, or should he pursue another big name like Saunders and try to get another title? I'm always a big fan of, in fights like this, an immediate rematch, but I don't think Triple G's team is going to want that, because Triple G is a cash cow, he's a gravy train. This clearly wasn't his most dominant performance. It was obviously his toughest fight. I mean, I don't know what fight. There were spots in other fights where they were tough or whatever, but this is the last guy to go the distance with him in over 23 fights. You know what I'm saying? So clearly you have to put this up there as the toughest fight, and I think his team even said that at the press conference. So knowing that, Jacobs can play spoiler, and then what if he improves? What if he does certain things slightly better? So I don't think Golovkin's team is going to be pushing a rematch. In fact, I know it because they've even made statements in interviews saying, hey, we're trying to capture the Saunders belt or fight Canelo. A rematch with Jacobs is not on our immediate radar. That lets you know. You know what I mean? Because why people are pressing for Ward and Kovalev to have an immediate rematch. People say, oh, Ward, if you don't rematch Kovalev, you're a chicken shit. But why won't Golovkin fight it? I know you wanted to fight Canelo, but that can wait. Fight Jacobs. He said he wanted the rematch. You know what I'm saying? It's because they know Golovkin's stock will further plummet if he has another performance like this, where people are already calling him gift this Golovkin and all this. So I don't think they'll push for it. So I think Jacobs is definitely worthy of it. But in my honest opinion, I don't see Team Triple G. They're probably like, we narrowly escaped. We got through that with the unanimous decision. Let's move forward to other names, especially when those other names might not even be able to trouble you as much as Jacobs did, right? Billy Joe Saunders, you don't have the power, so you'd have to really outbox the fuck out of Golovkin, right? Jacobs was outboxing, but he was doing it with assertive power combinations, more rhythm, more athleticism than I've ever seen from Billy Joe Saunders. You know what I mean? More speed, hand speed. So I think Golovkin's team would look towards that direction. Next question. Bolat. Do you think that Thai guy fought against Chocolatito should be disqualified? No, I don't know why you guys keep asking that. I mean, things happen in boxing. You know what I mean? And unless there's like a clear, concise way you could prove that this was intentional, like you warned him and he kept doing it intentionally, then I don't really see, you know what I mean? Shit happens. I watch Pacquiao and Marquez, and they're stepping on each other's foot and stuff like that. Like little stuff like that happen. You're gonna disqualify Marquez because he stepped on Pacquiao's foot. Pacquiao jumps in, you know what I mean? Maybe heads will clash. Maybe he'll try to get out of the way of a Pacquiao flurry. He might step on Pacquiao's shoes or something. So no, I wouldn't disqualify him off of that. There's no way. Like Anthony Peterson versus Brandon Rios, when Peterson was getting hurt and he just kept punching Rios in the dick, that's different. You could clearly tell he was willing to, you know what I'm saying, he was trying to harm him. Or when Zab Judah hit Mayweather below the belt, like it was clear he did that because he was like he was getting frustrated, he was losing. Andrew Galata, those are clear fouls, but the Sor Rungvisai kept happening. But I think that's kind of a tribute to his style. Like I told you guys, I gave you the compare. I said he reminds me of Takashi Miura. He obviously is not big on defense because he was getting blasted with some pretty good combination shots and consecutive punches that froze him by Chocolatito. But at the end of the day, he's just a rugged guy. He's like Orlando Salido, Takashi Miura type. And sometimes guys are like that. It's hard to tame them. Maidana's like that to a degree too. You know what I mean? He's just so eager, and he knows he's tough and he can take a shot and stuff, and he's just trying to put relentless pressure on you, and sometimes that happens. So no, I don't think he should have been disqualified. Next question, the Secular Terrier. Now all that's left for Triple G is the Saunders fight. Do you believe that's a walk in the park for Triple G? I can't say that. I would favor Triple G over Saunders because I thought if anyone could beat him at middleweight, it would be Canelo or Jacobs. So I wouldn't say it's a walk in the park. And you never know, because sometimes when the confidence or a mystique from someone is removed, then you never know. And you don't know what that does to Triple G's confidence, because he's knocked out everybody except for Danny Jacobs in his last 23 fights. I mean, in career-wise, there's only like, I think 2 other people that have went the distance with him, and they beat them. They went the distance. And, you know what I mean? You never know how that's going to affect Golovkin, because he was like, damn, you know what I mean? Someone stood up to it. So maybe he's, you know what I mean? Maybe his confidence takes a hit, takes a dip. And then also for other fighters, you look at Golovkin's last 2 fights, and what do people saying in the comments section? He was exploited. He was exposed. So, you know what I mean? Those things would help Billy Joe Saunders. Again, I would still pick Golovkin to beat him if it's the regular Golovkin. But who knows? Billy Joe Saunders could box. And, like, let's say they fight. I don't know. If they fight in Kazakhstan, then I really favor Triple G, because he just got a decision over Jacobs, and I thought Jacobs won. So if he's at home in Kazakhstan, then if you don't really knock him out or distinctly, definitively beat him, it's going to be an uphill battle if it happens in Kazakhstan. But, you know, I'm just saying that'll help Billy Joe Saunders watching these last 2 fights, because Triple G looked a lot more human in his last 2 fights with Kelbrook and Danny Jacobs. So maybe other fighters, Canelos and Billy Joe Saunders, everyone's probably looking at like this open season. This guy is not what they're saying he was. He's hard puncher and stuff, but there's ways to beat him, and people are going to take their takeaways from that. Next question, Motion Alex Ego. Do you think Triple G didn't do what he usually does, thus he didn't give us the performance that we all expected? No. In my opinion, the first 3 rounds were very low on action, and Triple G were not pressuring the way he does. And even after a knockdown, he didn't jump to finish Jacobs, despite him being a good finisher. And do you think that's because Triple G was somewhat intimidated by Jacobs' size and respected his power too much? My opinion, Triple G was extremely tentative throughout the whole fight. And your observation is 100% accurate. He was tentative because he's not Mexican style like he was billed as, and that was some marketing gimmick that HBO and Abel and whoever coined it, Triple G, big drama show. That's some stuff, some fallacy that was sold to the public that you guys end up believing. Real people like me told you this from the beginning. Triple G is not this quote unquote Mexican style Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. slugger. He's not even a Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. slugger. What I mean by that is very simple. Guys like Chavez Jr., no matter who you put him in the ring with, his identity is not going to change. He's going to try to plow forward and keep coming forward. Sergio Maravilla Martinez hit him with every fucking punch, had his eye turning black and purple, and Sergio has power. He knocked out Paul Williams devastatingly, right? And Chavez Jr. still kept coming through and coming forward, right? Using his grit, his toughness to keep pushing. And even in the 12th round, he almost stopped Sergio Martinez. Andy Lee was fucking him up when they fought, right? Brian Vera in the first fight was throwing a million punches. Still coming forward, still trucking, still coming. Golovkin doesn't do that. You put him in with Adama or Willie Monroe, someone he doesn't have to respect their power, then he might do it. You know what I mean? He might just keep coming because he knows those guys really can't hurt him. He does have a good chin, but you put him in there with David Lemieux, what did he do? Jab, jab, jab. And then he had to put it together. Same thing with Danny Jacobs. He wasn't himself because Jacobs wouldn't allow him to be himself. And he knew if he disrespected Jacobs, this is the same guy that knocked out Kid Chocolate Quillen. Shout out to my dude, Kid Chocolate. Working hard. I seen him. I seen you. He was coming down in weight. But this is the same dude that knocked out Kid Chocolate in one round. You get me? So Golovkin is not dumb. He's not going to just come in with reckless abandon and get knocked down. His chin is good, but again, there's only so much blunt force trauma anyone can take, right? So that's why he wasn't himself, because he had to respect the size, the boxing, and the power of Danny Jacobs, period. So yeah, he was tentative because you actually put him in there with somebody that could make him tentative with their attributes, which is what I've been saying. Golovkin is not this mystical, like godly fighter where nobody can hurt him or no. I think he was hurting the Jacobs fight. He just has a good chin, a good poker face, but he's not like this immortal being or whatever that HBO is trying to make him out to be. You put him in there with an able-bodied person who has power to hurt you and finish you and has heart and everything that Danny Jacobs showed. Amateur background, was trying to throw you off by switching to southpaw. He was willing to do tricky stuff. What was it? Even if you had Golovkin winning, which I didn't, even if you had him winning, it was still a tough-ass fight, and Golovkin didn't look like Superman like he did versus Dominic Wade. It's very easy to compute. And the reason I knew this is because, to me, there are guys that are higher skilled in terms of completeness. Golovkin is a very good offensive fighter, right? He's a good boxer puncher, good counter puncher, great at cutting off the ring. Probably my favorite person to watch cut off the ring in boxing actively. But his defense lacks, his head movement lacks, and he's slow, right? So to me, Golovkin was who he always is. But I knew that once you put Golovkin in there with someone that has certain attributes to match him, it would be a different fight. That's why he didn't want to fight Andre Ward. That's why he didn't want to fight certain people at 168, like James DeGale, even Gilberto Ramirez, Badu Jack. I think all these fights, whether you think he'll win or not, he would be giving up some weight. That's one thing. These guys are probably taller than him, and he can't just come in. Like, he can't just walk up to Gilberto Ramirez and just start unloading. You know what I mean? He has to be cautious and look for the return fire of guys who have heart and are going to throw some punches as you come in. Stuff like that. Have power that you have to respect. So I don't know why everyone's acting surprised. This is the same Golovkin it's been. It's like his team said, even post-fight. The competition just got better, which is what I told you. Knocking out 23 people is cool, but who were they? You know what I mean? Gabe Rosado, my dude, shout out to him. But he was a 54-pounder who hadn't fought at 160. You know what I'm saying? as you look at it, he fought J. Leon Love. He gave Kid Chocolate a run for his money. That's because that was after the Golovkin fight, so he started to acclimate a bit and fight those guys. He fought Golovkin. It was supposed to be at a catchweight, but he was like, nah, I don't want no catchweight. I don't believe in catchweights. So he came up to the full 160. Gave up all his positioning at 154. He had just, I think, won an eliminator, so he was the mandatory for Cornelius K9 Bundridge, and that's a more winnable fight for him. K9 Bundridge is kind of small. I mean, he's big, but he's like short. And Gabe Rosado was doing good at 54. So, you know what I'm saying? Golovkin is who he has been. It's just the competition got much better. Danny Jacobs has momentum. He has an amateur pedigree where he was winning Golden Gloves and fought the Sean Porters of the world, probably fought Demetrius Andrade, fought top-name guys. And in addition, as a pro, I told you he had a better single win than any win on Golovkin's career, and that was Kid Chocolate. You got to look at who Kid Chocolate was. A 90% knockout artist, 90% KO ratio, a guy who had power, who had confidence, who was undefeated, who his second home was Brooklyn too, so he probably felt right at home. A guy who, you know what I'm saying, he had momentum. He had beaten Winky Wrights and different people like that, so he had momentum. So I didn't really see a different Golovkin, though I did see a different Golovkin, but it wasn't because of he was fighting differently, or he was fighting differently, but it was because of who he was fighting. Same thing if he fights Canelo. He's not going to just walk in. Canelo will dog you if you just walk up to him. So it's the competition. I'm telling you guys, competition got better. Next question, Courtney Douglas. Hey, Ego, I felt like Jacobs won the second half of the fight. Kind of Ward and Kovalev-ish with cleaner punches from the underdog. He made Triple G look average in there. What are your thoughts for Triple G versus Canelo? If he get past Chavez, it'll be a different fight because Canelo doesn't dance or box like Jacobs at all. Part 2 is not a question, but I'm seeing more of this in the comment section. Triple G fans are already building an excuse that he's declining and getting older, so if he wins or loses, it won't affect him as much, which is a crying shame because if it was Mayweather, he wouldn't get a pass at all. He could be 50, age 50, and the same excuses wouldn't apply. Hope insurance is better than Obamacare. Wow. Second part of your question, we already know what it is. That's precisely why I don't want to see Floyd Mayweather versus Gennady Golovkin, because I told you, Floyd is the A side. Floyd has proven himself for 19 years. He was not going up to 160 for Golovkin, who hasn't really even accomplished anything. Your best name on your resume, some people are saying you didn't even win the fight. You know what I mean? Some people even said he got exposed to the other best name, Kell Brook. So clearly Floyd is not going to go up to 160, which means Golovkin would have to do what him and his team has said they will do, which is come down to 154 or 155 for Floyd to make the fight. Floyd is 40 years old, and again, if Floyd made it look like easy work and made Golovkin look shittier than normal, or even hurt Golovkin, because once you start depleting your body and you're making a weight that your body should reject and shouldn't be making, then you might be sluggish. You know what I mean? Which is why some people said Andre Ward beat and stopped Chad Dawson, because he came down so much weight with his frame. Which you could argue, but I mean, that's Chad Dawson's fault. He called for the fight. So that's why I never wanted to see the Golovkin Mayweather, because you see what the excuses are already for the Jacobs. He won the fight on paper and on his box rec and stuff, and people are still making excuses, right? So if Floyd beat him, it would still be excuse. Oh, he was weight drained at 154. Don't even fight him. Don't even give him payday. So yeah, it's HBO and everyone. It's damage control. You know what I mean? Oh, he's old. He's declining. But if he knocked Jacobs out, no one would be talking about his age. Some people are misquoting his age. He's 34 right now. He will be 35 this year, but he's 34 currently, right? So, yeah, I don't want to hear age excuse. Here's another one with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, when he fought Canelo, he was 36 or 37 years old. He might have been 38, but I think it was 36 or 37. Canelo was 13 years his junior. Canelo was big. Canelo was strong, Canelo was undefeated, and Canelo was a champion with great inside work. He had demolished Shane Mosley, Carlos Baldemir, Josecito Lopez, and he had just came off the heels of his best win, Austin Trout. a southpaw, which he knocked down, right? And then he fought Floyd Mayweather. And even though they fought at a catchweight at 152, he clearly rehydrated. I believe they had his post-fight weight or whatever, and it was like 15 to 20 pounds. So he was the bigger man. And he was younger, and he's never been stopped like Danny Jacobs has been stopped. So I don't want to hear Golovkin was old or Jacobs rehydrated to a cruiserweight and light heavyweight. And that's all dumb speculation. And a lot of y'all don't know shit about boxing. Jacobs didn't even go. He forfeited the IBF belt, didn't even go to his weigh-in. So how do you know how much he weighed? You know what I'm saying? How you saying he's a cruiserweight? I've seen comments like that. How? He didn't even step on the scale. So how you know how much he weighed on fight night? Excuses. And again, Golovkin's age, Floyd was older, and he schooled Canelo, toyed with him. It was a cat and mouse game. So, yeah, that's just excuses for a performance that we all know was not career best, and it did not support everything that HBO and a lot of these YouTube channels and a lot of these other people said Golovkin was supposed to do. You're supposed to knock the guy out. Abel said nobody can take his punch from 54 to 68. You're supposed to knock him out. Right? He's been knocked out before. I thought he had the glass chin. Sergio Mora knocked him down. He was chewing his gum hard. Look how fast he's chewing his gum. He's ready to get knocked out. All that shit people are saying. Now all of a sudden, oh, Golovkin's old. Stop it. Danny Jacobs is like maybe four years younger than him. Stop it. And he's been stopped before. And then the first part, Jacobs, I had him winning the fight. And you said if Canelo gets past Chavez, it just really depends on how he gets past Chavez. If it's more like Golovkin Jacobs, then I don't know, because there's controversy there. But if he schools Canelo, or Canelo schools Chavez easy work, then I'm going to have a newfound respect for Canelo, and I give him a strong chance to beat Golovkin. Even though he doesn't dance, I don't really think Jacobs was dancing too much in there either. You know what I'm saying? Jacobs he stood his ground. He was fighting toe to toe. He would use his feet to make Golovkin reset a little bit, but it's different because there's also certain things that Canelo can exploit that Danny Jacobs maybe didn't exploit as much. Like, I thought Danny Jacobs, he would do weird things sometimes. Like, he was pushing Golovkin back and it was successful, and then he would just break, and then he would allow Golovkin to start stalking forward. But when he was pushing him back, Golovkin was just blocking, and he was just trying to like look for the shots and evade the shots. You know what I mean? And he was like getting body shots, and I was like, keep doing it. Keep like Van Damme said in Bloodsport, what are you doing? Keep going. Hey, Frankie, what are you doing? Huh. It's American who makes tricks with bricks. But yeah, I thought he should have just kept pushing him back, and sometimes he was like pushing him back, and then he just released the pressure, and then Golovkin starts stalking forward and stuff. So Canelo might not do that. Canelo might not let up. If he starts backing you up like that, he might just keep going until you're out of there or something. You know what I mean? Like he did Kirkland. Notice once he got going in the first round, he just kept putting punches together, and Canelo's very creative. He's creative as fuck with his hand speed and with his punches. Like uppercut, high, low, high, left body hook, and then right body shot. He's just doing all types of stuff. So yeah, it's a different fight totally. I really just have to see how Canelo does at the weight. And that's going to be like, you know what I mean? He has to get past Chavez, which I think is a difficult fight. Next question is from Big Nartstein. Yo, Ego, Triple G Jacobs was a very close fight, and I personally think Jacobs won. However, I just cannot comprehend the way off scoring. Do you think judges scored it away off because they wanted to make sure Triple G won, so possibility of Triple G Canelo fight can still happen? I know it sounds like a crude conspiracy theory, but I am disbelief over the scoring. Absolute BS. Yeah, I told you guys. I mean, I don't know. I don't really do the conspiracy theory. I don't know if people get paid off with that type of stuff or whatever. But yeah, it sounds like they were just being extra generous to the A-side name. You know what I mean? With Golovkin, it clearly wasn't a unanimous decision, and Boxing is just so it's disrespectful what they do to us, because we watch it and they tell us what we seen was not real. You know what I mean? That wasn't true. You didn't just watch that, and they still do it, and it almost makes it worse for the fighter. You know what I mean? Because you rob them of a chance to learn. Like, if you didn't win a fight, you shouldn't get the nod. And if you won by a different margin, don't try to make them feel bad. Like Canelo versus Mayweather. One judge said it was a draw. CJ Ross is dumbass. That's why she had to retire from boxing, because she's stupid as fuck. You know what I mean? Why even get like to try to save face to make Canelo? Oh, hey, don't. One person had it a draw, Canelo. Don't cry. Like, no. It wasn't no damn draw. He lost like damn near every round. Same thing with in the Golovkin fight. Very competitive, but it's still, I can't see how 3 judges seen that fight 100% for one guy. It just, no. Nothing Golovkin did was that effective to the point where it was just like clean cut, no doubt about it. Golovkin won all these rounds. Get out of here. Next question, Hafiz Hussein. Ego, keep up the good work. The best YouTuber going. Thank you. Who wins? Mikey Garcia versus Crawford. Pacquiao versus Crawford. Who wins? Leo Santa Cruz, Oscar Valdez. Quick picks. I would pick Crawford to beat Mikey Garcia. I really fuck with Mikey Garcia, but Crawford has been a lot more active. He fought 3 times last year. Hank Lundy, Postal, and then he fought John Molina. He seems to keep getting better. I haven't seen him really hurt since the Gamboa fight, right? He's been smart, and he's been stopping a lot of the guys. He came up to 140, stopped everyone except for Victor Postal, which he knocked down twice. You know what I mean? So, and he's fighting different styles. Mikey Garcia is 2 fights removed from a 2-year layoff, right? Plus, Crawford's at a higher weight division, and he beat him in the amateur. So, based on the timing and everything, they're both quality fighters. I think Crawford's slickness and stuff, I think he would beat Garcia. Right now, especially. Pacquiao versus Crawford. I'm picking Crawford. Same reasons. He's just fresher. Pacquiao hasn't had a knockout since 2009. He can still hurt you, but I mean, Pacquiao, the old Pacquiao was knocking out De La Hoya and Hatton and guys like David Diaz, but now he can't knock out Jesse Vargas. He can't knock out Chris Algieri, a guy who had no experience north of 140, and his biggest fight, his eye was closed almost, versus Ruslan Provodnikov at that time. So I'm rocking with Crawford, sharper, fresher, more in his youthful time. And Leo Santa Cruz, Oscar Valdez, I don't know. That's a toss-up. That's a good fight. That's a real good fight. Maybe a slight edge to Leo, just off of experience, but I don't know, because Valdez is a 2-time Olympian, and he's a champion too. But that's a toss-up. I'm not really sure. Same user, Hafiz Hussein. I seen the weakness in Golovkin's armor. Who do you think will beat him? Who wins, Lomachenko for Crawford? I think Lomachenko's too damn small for Crawford. So Crawford. I like Loma. I rate him, but I don't know how high he could go up. Crawford's at 140, and he even said it. Someone asked him. He said Lomachenko, he's a good fighter, but he's too small. And I agree with that. Crawford varies his style so much. He's a switch hitter. So all them angles, like Crawford arguably is better as a southpaw. Lomachenko is a southpaw. He's a left-hander. So that the angles work better versus an orthodox fighter like Gary Russell Jr. or whoever else, right? If you're a southpaw versus southpaw, some of those angles that Lomachenko move in and stuff is not going to be the same. And again, the weight disparity. You could be very talented, but you're 2 divisions lighter. You know what I mean? It's hard to overcome. Golovkin versus Kell Brook and Amir Khan. Amir Khan, he was doing good for the first 4 rounds, but Canelo could afford to take his punches and figure it out. Why Amir Khan made one fatal mistake and bit on a feint and gets knocked out with one single shot. So I think Lomachenko is good, but I think he has a ceiling as as far as how high he could go weight-wise. I don't really see him with his frame being a welterweight like Floyd or even Pacquiao. I don't think he even has the power to go up there. You know what I mean? Those guys would be too, like, put it this way. In all honesty, and I really fuck with Lomachenko, but I'm an honest boxing fan and critic. Can you picture Lomachenko versus Marcos Maidana at 147? Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't sound right. So Crawford's just a division below him. I just think he's too big. Sometimes he rehydrates to like almost 160, 157, 155. He's too big for Lomachenko. First part of your question, you seen the weakness in Golovkin's armor. Who can beat him? Possibly Danny Jacobs in a rematch. I think he can learn from what he did in the first fight and maybe clean up certain things, because there were certain things that he allowed. Like, he had no answer for the Golovkin jab when Golovkin was throwing it. You know what I mean? He didn't have a strong answer, and he was getting popped back with the jab. So nullify that, find out a way to do that, attack the body more, and then just keep pushing him back and just clean up in spots so they can't take it away from you. So I think Daniel Jacobs in a rematch. I think Canelo might be able to beat Gennady Golovkin. And then if we're talking in the higher weights, Andre Ward clearly beat him. And there's a reason why they didn't push for that fight. They probably know Golovkin's weaknesses, that inside work, fighting off the back foot, having his work smothered. I mean, Danny Jacobs kind of exploited a lot of those little things. He just didn't do it all at once in one round. Next question, Lee Van. Hey, Ego, what do you think of Joe Cortez's idea of having judges ringside position being raised like a tennis umpire so they can have a better angle? He claims that they are missing a lot of shots because they are judging from a bad spot. They were both close fights, but I thought Chocolatito and Jacobs both won tonight. We should try anything we can do to get better results from these judges. Yeah, I mean, I never heard Joe Cortez say that, but since you mentioned it, yeah, that would be a good idea. But more so than that, I think get able-bodied judges, like, because you could be in whatever. I can judge a fight from press row, so the judges are closer than me. So how can I judge a fight and I feel do a good job of who won and who won what round, but they can't do it from even closer? So I don't really even think Joe Cortez, I mean, like I said, I'd be willing to try anything, but I don't really think that's the issue. I think a lot of these judges don't know what the fuck they judge what they like, as opposed to the judging criteria. Like, I like Golovkin, and I like how aggressive he was being in it, so I'm going to give him the whole round. You know what I mean? People judge stupid stuff like, if Tim Bradley's working for 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and then Pacquiao's flurrying for 15 seconds, you give Pacquiao the round when he doesn't knock Bradley down, he doesn't like necessarily buzz him or anything. How does he get the round for 15 seconds of work? Unless he really put a statement in those 15. He was like rocking Bradley all about, you know what I'm saying? How do you give him that? But some judges would. They'd be like, nope, I like that 15 seconds. And people are dumb. Like, people act like you can't overcome a knockdown in a fight, one knockdown, or things like that. Like, it's boxing. Like, you can overcome a knockdown and come back to beat somebody. The more knockdowns you get, the harder it is. But even Juan Manuel Marquez, he got knocked down 3 times by Pacquiao and fought to a draw. Lamont Peterson, I think, got knocked down maybe even more than once versus Victor Ortiz, and he fought to a draw. So, you know what I mean? You could come back from stuff like deficits like that. So I think the judges just need to be more keen and stop going off of what they like and go off of what they're seeing, and just be fair, just be overall fair. And certain people have this stigma, like, why do we even watch fights if it's just a power contest? That's what I noticed with a lot of judges. It's just like power happy. Like, oh, Golovkin was never really visibly rocked, and then they look at something obvious like Jacobs got knocked down. So, okay, since he was knocked down, Golovkin's hitting him harder and stuff like that. That's not how it works. And it's not just a tough man contest. Some guys are tough. That doesn't mean you won the fight. You know what I mean? Because you have a higher threshold for pain or whatever when you're still getting hit because you have a better poker face. Who's getting clean, who has the effective game plan, ring generalship, defense, all that stuff. Next question. .com show. What's good, Ego? I fuck with you the long way. Pause. Yeah, pause that. Do you think Danny Jacobs missed the same day weigh-in as strategy, or he just couldn't do it? Yeah, it was definitely a strategy. Him and his team said that. They said it was by design. They planned for that. They knew. Again, I explained it on my live stream before the fights when I was at Madison Square Garden. I think during the Andy Lee, I went live for 40 minutes or so, and I told you guys that was a brilliant plan because they were willing to sacrifice the IBF belt, be able to sleep in, and just focus on the fight itself, not worried about having to go weigh in somewhere and only weigh in 10 pounds from the target. They sacrificed the IBF, knowing that if they beat Golovkin, they would still get 2 other belts, and they'll get all the recognition of beating Golovkin. So it really was a strategy to come in comfortable, rehydrate to whatever your body naturally would do, and not participate in the IBF's their regulations or whatever for their belt holders, which they're the only ones doing that. The WBA doesn't do that. WBO, the WBC belt, none of them do that. They have, like, WBC does like a 30-day weigh-in and a 7-day weigh-in, but they don't make you weigh in the day of the weigh, to my knowledge. Right? So that was a smart plan. The IBF was the only sanctioning body making them do that, and they were content just not getting the IBF belt to come in comfortable. So it was a strategy for sure. Next question is from Frederick Cotton. What's up with Rigondeaux? Don't know. He's with Rock Nation. Last I heard, they were trying to reschedule his fight with Moises Flores, and that was supposed to be on the Cotto Kirkland card that got scrapped. So I'll keep you guys updated if I hear anything else. Next question, Swaggy D. Ego, in your opinion, what do you believe are the chances Triple G Canelo fight happens this year? 60%, 80%. What are your thoughts? I would say 65%. I'm not definitively sold that yes, it's going to happen, because I've heard both things. You know what I mean? Golden Boy might now come up with something like, oh, after that performance, you got Jacobs problems. We're not fighting you, and pursue their own stuff. So I would say a good, strong 65%. If it depends on how Canelo looks and how he feels at the weight. If he felt like the weight was too much, then that's another reason why Golden Boy might not want to make that fight. You know what I mean? Triple G, after that performance with Jacobs, where they didn't look as good as maybe a lot of people intended, maybe they don't want to fight Canelo right away. So I would say 65% on the fight happening. Next question is from Moises Hernandez. Ego, my man, what do you think in this day and age of boxing has the best chin? Who do I think? Keep up the good work. You got to put Golovkin on the list. He took some monster shots, and he took some of them flush. He tried to block some of them, but watch the 11th round. There's this one sequence where Jacobs hit him with 2 clean-ass punches, and he ate that. So I would say Golovkin has a really good chin. Other than that, who else? Tim Bradley has a good chin. Some of y'all don't know what a chin is. Some people say, like, if you get hurt, that, like, your chin, you have a glass chin. A glass chin is where you're getting hurt by just anybody. Like, you're a moderate puncher, a light puncher. They'll have you on Queer Street. That's a glass chin, right? But if you get hit by a known knockout artist and you take their punch, like Tim Bradley did to Ruslan Provodnikov. Ruslan Provodnikov has he has hurt literally everybody that he's fought, I believe. Lucas Matisse was hurt. Mauricio Herrera's face looked like dog shit after they fought. Ruslan had Chris Algieri looking like a cyclops with one eye. And Bradley ate his punch flush, multiple ones, and had a concussion. So that's definitely a hell of a chin. Floyd Mayweather also has an underrated chin, very underrated. So that's what I would say for the chins. Next question, Junior Servin 96. What would you think if Canelo did end up stopping Chavez to the head? Pause. I mean, he gets all the credit in the world if he does that. I don't see it, but if he does it and Chavez looks like he's training and he makes the weight fine and he still stops him to the head, Canelo is the man. I mean, there's nothing to take away. If he stops him clean, just bop, 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 and he stops him with the headshot, then wow, he moved up in weight. I just don't see it happening like that. But if he does, he gets props. Next question, Lil Rask. The final question. Ego, much respect from Melbourne, Australia, homie. Shout out to Australia, mate. So do you think Bob Arum is the reason the Pacquiao versus Khan fight didn't happen, or will it? I think it might happen later, but I wouldn't even blame Bob Arum. I'd really blame Michael Conks and Pacquiao for leaking information to the public. Pacquiao's tweeting, "Oh, me and Amir Khan agreed," and they did this on a whim because some big time investors said they were going to put up 38 million for a fight like that, and they're like, "Okay, we're down." And then they talked to Amir Khan's side, got the split, and everybody was down under the pretense of this $38 million offer. And Bob Arum, from what he said, he's like, "I try to tell y'all, all these fights with Dubai, the people never show up with the money." And then they just rode. They, you know what I mean? They start riding with it and tweeting to the public, and Amir Khan's tweeting, "We've agreed." And then the fight falls through because they found out the investor was full of shit. So I don't blame Arum for that. I blame Pacquiao and Conks because they were trying to do this G Money side deal, and they didn't do it with the reliable person. So Bob Arum's probably laughing, to be honest, because he's been in the business and he's probably heard of these types of offers from, like, I don't know, millionaire princes or heirs to some throne, and they're like, "Oh, we want the fight here, we'll pay you all that," and then nothing ever happens, nothing materializes. So yeah, I don't blame Bob Arum I don't blame him for the Pacquiao Khan. I think Pacquiao side, like his direct team, jumped the gun and heard the dollar signs and like, hey, that's a good amount of money, because they didn't get 20 million versus Jesse Vargas because nobody really wanted to see that fight. You know what I mean? So the 38 million was sounded righteous to them. So they were all about it. Like, hey, we'll fight Khan. And, you know what I mean? He's not that big of a threat that we won't take 38 million and split it. That's good money. And then it turned out that the person with their bid wasn't really serious. It wasn't a real auction bid, like they were really gonna produce the cash. Let me know how you guys think I did. I tried to get to a lot of questions. You left some good ones. Golovkin Jacobs was a great experience. I'm glad I got to cover it live, and it was a good fight. I did have Jacobs winning, but that's my opinion. I had Chocolatito winning. They didn't give it to him. So co-main event and main event, I had him going a different way than what was actually read and announced, but still good fights. Golovkin's still a good fighter. Jacobs showed massive heart, and I think Jacobs, out of the two, his stock doesn't really go down. But people are obviously making excuses and, oh, Golovkin's old now, and did we wait too long? No, I don't want to hear all that, because if he knocked out Jacobs, then it wouldn't have been no, oh, he's 35, right? And at the end of the day, don't sell Golovkin short. He had a tough fight with Jacobs. Doesn't mean he can't knock out Canelo, because Canelo don't fight like Jacobs. You know what I mean? But maybe Canelo can beat him. We don't know. So, I mean, there's no guarantee in this boxing game. Only guarantee is the Boxingego name. Let me know what you guys think. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.